and talk a little bit about the content we'll be exploring tonight, and then we'll do a little invocation and get into it. Live streamers, are we live? We're live. Hi, live streamers. Good to see you. Really great to be here. This is the last live stream of the year, the last official live stream. In November, we'll be doing an event for 3 days, November 16, 17, and 18, called Called to Lead. You can check that out at calledtoleadlive.com. I'll also be sharing some more information pretty soon about how you can participate in that if you so choose. So great to have you here as always, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to dive into tonight. So a few years ago, well, I'll back up and say, the primary work I do is working with entrepreneurs, working with mission-driven entrepreneurs to get really clear about like what's their work in the world to do. And a lot of what I do is helping people discern who needs that work from them. So that's a body of work I call tribal marketing, and it gets people really crystal clear about exactly and precisely who those people are, why those are your people, and how to communicate them and serve them in a way that they go, oh, thank God you're here. Yes, I want to work with you. So that's a lot of the work that I do. And that goes all the way into structuring offers and go-to-market strategies and all that good stuff. But these nights are what our friend Bob calls business church. These are really where we go, okay, there's some intricacies about what it means to be a mission-driven business leader, whether you're an entrepreneur or otherwise. And some of the challenges that we run into along the way. So that's what these nights are for. The third Thursday of the month, we meet here at the Hall Center. This is a center that Dr. Prudence Hall runs. She's an amazing regenerative medicine specialist, deals with hormones and bioidentical hormones and adrenals and all that good stuff. So if you need some support, be sure you find out more about what happens here. A lot of my business work, well, all of my business work is information that I've tested and worked with and designed in curriculums I've created over sometimes many, many years. These evenings are not that. These evenings are where we open up and explore something. I never know what is going to come through when I stand on stage in these evenings. And that's by design. It's really a place for me to practice going, what wants to come through here? What do we need to learn, right? The people in this room, live streamers, what do we need to learn? And tonight, we're going to be looking at what I call upper limit issues. And what I mean by that is all of us, I find, at some level have upper limits beyond which we can't seem to go. And these can be upper limits around finance, upper limits around how many people we can serve or reach, upper limits in terms of how toned and alive we can get our body to be, upper limits in terms of how good we can have our relationships be, upper limits in terms of how close to something you might call the divine be, right? And there's upper limits everywhere. And the reason I'm bringing this out is in preparation for this event called To Lead, a lot of what I've been exploring is working with people about moving from being practitioners, where they have a nice business and work with clients and it's functional and they make money, to being thought leaders, where they have a tribe that follows them, a tribe that they are here to lead and to support an entire group of people to move forward in this world, to be a force for good in this world. So at the event, some of the things I'm going to be doing is distinguishing and teaching people how to market to tribe as a tribal leader versus marketing as a practitioner. and it's very distinctly different. So that's going to be good fun. But one of the things that I've been looking at as it relates to leadership and preparing for this event is this upper limit issue, where most of the people that I serve have a sense of a vision or a picture or something where they're like, yes, when I'm living my mission, this is what it looks like, right? And it's a vision, and it's often a vision that you've had for years, perhaps, right? You can see what your life would look like if you were really answering your calling and really living your mission. And then there is your reality, which oftentimes doesn't match that vision, right? So I'm getting into content here. I'm going to do a little invocation, and then we'll continue into content. But that's what we're going to explore. So let's just take a moment and know that everything we are here to learn and experience and receive is already here. That everything is in this space available for us, and that there's no striving required to get it. Not from me, not from anyone listening, not from this community. It's all here. It's all in this energy that we sometimes refer to as the life force. It's all in this life force that's calling each one of us forward in our own unique ways. And so as we move forward tonight, I invite you, and I invite myself, to feel into this life force, this energy that guides you, that supports you, that illuminates paths for you, that opens doors. And when you're really on purpose, things seem to just flow, and you're in sync with this life force. And so we connect to this energy, knowing that in it, everything we need in this moment is right here. And I just ask to be a conduit for whatever information wants to flow this evening. All right, good. So immediately, the message I'm getting is source energy, life force, the divine, wants everything for us. Always. Always, 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 always. There is no limit to desire of the divine, in my experience. Even in, I went to school with a world religions teacher who was a white guy from Minnesota who moved to Japan and became a Buddhist. And he was back in Minnesota years later as a world religion teacher. And he said, you know, his experience was a Buddhist in America is still 98% Christian, and a Christian in Japan is still 98% Buddhist, because the overarching religion has such a pervasive impact in the web of society and community. So whether that 98.2% is the right percentage, I do think there is something to say with the energy of a particular religion having an imprint on different societies. And so I grew up as a totally fundamentalist Christian kid. Well, I didn't. My family was. It never quite worked for me. I didn't really understand it. But it's been interesting to have that as the backdrop for my life and for my work, because so much of what I come from is, you know, sometimes you don't know what something is until you know what it isn't. And so much of what I know about my spiritual path and how my spiritual path relates to my leadership is how I know that is by knowing a lot about what I don't think it is from my childhood, right? So that's all background, but here's where I'm going with this. And I say this not from I'm going to reference the Bible a bit tonight, which I don't do much. And I did it one other event, like in the past 2 years, and I had this woman be like, yeah, I'm Jewish, so that didn't work for me. And this is not meant to be about proselytizing religion, because I think we can pull from all sorts of traditions, and that's just the tradition that I come from. But in the Bible, or in the Torah, the divine constantly says do this for my pleasure. And what I find fascinating about that is if you look at that, you go, oh, this is a pleasure-seeking God. Right? This is a pleasure-seeking God. And there's two things I want to pull from the Bible, and I'll make it relevant to us, hopefully. So that's the first one. The second one is that while in my upbringing, we were constantly taught about how we were sinners and all that good stuff. But if you actually look in text, and can we take this down a bit? Yeah, thanks. If you actually look in the text, there's a lot of reminders about who we are. And I think that's a lot about what we're here to do for one another, is remind each other who we are. And so if it's in the Bible, it might say, like, you are, right? That could be one language for it. What I would say is you are sovereign beings. Right? And so I know I'm all over the place right now, but I'm going to pull it together right now. There's a relationship between pleasure-seeking and desire, authentic desire, and this upper limit issue. Because so often, what we're taught is a version of life that's about limits. I know when it comes to money, for example, when I was a kid, you know, what did I see? I saw fights about money. I was journaling about this evening before tonight, and I got this whole download about Bitcoin, which was kind of wild. And it was this, that in this world, the thing we see in front of us in the material world, there's only a finite amount of anything, right? And so then the perception is if we have more of something, other people have less. And the message I got was about Bitcoin. And it was like, hey, Bitcoin was started in 2009, out of thin air, right? Now it has a lot of value. And it didn't take from anywhere to generate that value. And so I think there's something fascinating about looking at that example and placing it in our own lives. Like, where do we say, oh, there's only so much of something, and so I don't know if I can have any more? When in another reality, you can create everything out of nothing, and it's all right there, right? Bitcoin. So I want you to think about where this upper limit piece is for you. Is it in how many people you can serve and reach? Is it in how much money you can make? Is it in your health? Is it in your relationships? Like, where is the place where you go, oh yeah, I keep bumping up into, like, I remember being at this joint venture summit thing with a bunch of colleagues, and this woman said, like, we cannot break the 500,000 mark. No matter what we do, we reach it, but we don't ever go beyond it, and I don't know why, right? That's an upper limit issue. Capacity for service. You know, it's like, oh, I can only get this many clients, and once I have this many clients in my practice, I can't seem to go further. I never have more than that. And it's okay, it's enough to get by, but I never like blow it out of the park and rock it in my business because I can only get to this amount, right? What are some other upper limit issues? And if you're in live stream, feel free to type in and share, like, yeah, here's an upper limit issue for me, and we'll check in with Nicole and see what you say there. But I'm just curious, like, where you feel you might have some upper limit issues in your own life.
Business?
Like, in what area of business?
One realm would be getting to a certain point. Like, money could come in sporadically. You get to a certain point, and then it's just flat lines.
Right.
And it's just a pattern of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give me an example of, like, when that happens. I love that there's like a Ferrari driving past us right now as we're talking about this. So you can get to a certain limit, like it comes in and then, whoosh,
Yeah.
right. So it's like the plug is pulled, nothing more, no more flow.
It's more so receiving the money and then sporadically it's gone in a very short period of time.
All right, so I get the money,
Yes.
and then it just kind of all goes.
Yes.
Before I like, oh, hey, where did it all went? And
Yes.
before I know it, I don't have any more again.
Yes, and that's also a pattern that I just see in my life where it's like go to the gym for a while, and it's like I get right close to this point of stuff really taking off, but it's like right before that point, it's like, shoo.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Got it. Good. Awesome. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I'm starting a new business, and anytime I put out there how many clients, matchmaking clients, I am going to take on, the number is always 5. Or when we have events, the number is always 20 to 30.
Uh-huh. Got it. Great. So matchmaking.
Yes.
All right, cool. We're gonna do a little work with you tonight. Willing to share?
Yeah, I guess just financially, my upper limit seems to be a certain amount.
Uh-huh. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so do you find that you like get there and then maintain it, or you get there and then it kind of dips back down? How does it roll?
Yeah, I think I get there. Actually, like I've been doing a lot of inner transformative work recently, so I've gotten there again. So I don't know how it pans out actually, but I think
Right.
the inner work.
We'll
it's yet to
we'll
be
see.
seen. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. And what do you do?
Well, right now I guess it's strategic partnerships, global strategic partnerships.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Good. Thank you. Let me check with Nicole and see. Just grab the mic there. Anything the live streamers are sharing?
Not yet, but
All
we
right.
have a couple people watching, so I'd love to hear from them if
All right,
they'd like
awesome.
to type in.
Great, good. So here's what I've noticed for me. I've partnered with a lot of people over the years in business, and I've always just had some private clients on the side and so forth, and I've done well. In the last couple of years, where I've been guided to go is to stop partnering with anybody else and really work as through my own brand, and do my work as this voice for this body of work. And it's been really interesting to notice my own upper limits as it relates to this growth and evolution. I've noticed it with building a team that I at first really was like in the scarcity mindset about team, in terms of like how many people can I afford to have on staff. And I'm like many entrepreneurs, I'm a jack of all trades, right? I can do a lot of things. Like I used to be a recording engineer, so I can set up all the AV in this room if needed. You know, there's like stuff like that, right? So I can come in and I can be a teacher, but I can also be like the tech guy. And it's that blessing and a curse, because if I stay doing all those things, I end up not being in my genius zone, right? So part of what I've had to really shift is knowing that my greatest value lives when I'm in my genius zone. And so really structuring the business as best I can to stay in that genius zone. And it's just been the last year that like every person that we bring onto the team is just a total freaking rock star. And it's like Nicole's back here supporting this event. And I've had a couple different people support this event, but Nicole came in and she's really interested in personal development, but also has this whole AV background, and it's like, oh, beautiful, awesome, thank you. And friend of Bob's as well. So that's a place that I've had to grow. This event I'm doing in November is another area where I've noticed, like, oh, like I've done events with 400 people with a business partner. And this event is the first event I'm really just doing on my own. And it's been a really interesting thing to notice my psychology around it. Like, oh, if this is the number I say I want, and this is the number that feels like it's meant to be, can I be congruent with that number and hold it, right? Or do I doubt it? So I want to explore a little bit about vision and doubt, and the relationship between vision and doubt. Because I think doubt is one of the ingredients related to upper limit issues. Because I find for myself, for the longest time, I was like one of those like spiritually guided business guys where I was like, oh, well, I don't really want to say, oh, here's the numbers I'm shooting for this year, or here's the numbers I'm shooting for this quarter. Because, well, the numbers will be whatever, the numbers will, whatever flows. Yeah, totally. And do you recognize that one? No, not at all. Got it. Yep. And I was like, but how can I plan? How can I have strategy and say this is the number we want and still be in flow, right? And still be in a relationship with what really wants to happen and not artificially push some number forward in the world. And for the longest time, it was like, oh, well, I'll just show up and things will flow. And to a certain degree, that absolutely happens, right? And has happened for years. So everything's, it flows all right. But in the last couple years, I keep getting a message like, okay, it's time to blow this thing up. It's time to bring it to a much larger group of people, a much larger scale. And so my old version of myself that would just like, well, I'll just show up and it'll flow and it'll be what it will be, like that's not congruent with scale. Now, the difference I'm finding as I start to move into scale is that I have to pay closer and closer and closer attention to what's true as I move in bigger and bigger ways, so that I don't lose myself in the process of going for a big goal. And this is the relationship between doubt and the vision. When I doubt it, I find that I'm in my own humanity doing it myself. Like, oh, that's the goal, and I've got to push that forward. And in relationship to that big goal, I alone am too small, frankly, right? Like, I can't do that on my own. The event I'm doing in November, I originally was going to do it in May. And like the hotel, like I would get a hotel that I was about to sign a contract with, and then be like, oh, somebody else got the room, right? Those dates aren't available anymore. And this happened like three times in a row. And I was like, all right, I'm getting the sign, not supposed to do the event in May. And when I tuned in, the message that I got was, Jeffrey, you were trying to put on this event. And that's not your job. That's the team's job, right? Now, 6 months earlier, say November of 2015, I didn't have the team in place, or 2016, to create that event. I do now, fortunately, right? But what I find is that every time I see a big vision and I doubt that I can go for it and doubt that I can do it, in my mind, I'm seeing myself as the one doing it. And no wonder I doubt that it could happen, right? Like, if I just flow like I used to, then I know it's fine, right? But if there's a bigger goal that's bigger than me, then it requires me to both participate in it and get out of the way of it, right? to participate in it and get out of the way of it. And here's what I mean by that. Participating in it is like to be fully invested as much as I can with my team, with all the resources that want to come together to support this vision. And get out of the way of it is to say, if this vision is true, if this thing actually wants to happen in the world, if it's an inspired idea, not just something I came up with, but if it's actually true, if it's part of my calling, then this thing has a life force of its own. And connected to that life force is everything required for its complete fulfillment. Its complete, everything coming to fruition. It's not connected to me, it's connected to the life force. And if I stay connected to the life force, then I am in relationship with it and participating with it, and all the other contributing people and resources can be connected to it as well. Right? And that's why I said, the more I go for a big dream, the more I find that I have to be, moment by moment, more like micro connected to what's true. Because each time my own humanity is leading the way, I get in the way, right? And so that's where I doubt. I don't actually doubt this vision. I don't doubt this vision. I sometimes doubt my own ability to achieve that vision, and when I doubt, it's because I'm forgetting that I'm just a contributing member of the vision, along with everybody else. And so that becomes part of the spiritual journey, is to stay connected to what's true and find what your part is in it, but getting out of the way of it and saying, oh, that life force is the thing carrying this forward, not me. I'm not heave-hoeing this forward. And the thing I said about being a jack of all trades, like that's part of the way I can sometimes get in the way, right? I'll just do it. I'll just do this. I'll just do that. And I take it on. And as I take it on, I get in the way. And the more I get in the way, the less this thing happens. And it starts to slow down. And then I start to get nervous and worry about it. And then I get into the way of it more. Right? So one of the things that my guidance always tells me is that our life's missions, our big callings, our life's missions are designed to bring us nose to nose with our greatest wounds. It's designed that way. So you can bank on it. Like if you're really doing your work in the world, you will come face to face with the stuff you've tried as best you can to avoid, right? The parts of your personality you don't like, some behaviors you wish you didn't have, like whatever it is, you can guarantee they'd be like, oh, you, hi, right? Like, damn it, I didn't want that. And that's gonna be the game, right? That's gonna be the game if you're really, really on purpose. For the longest time, my upper limit was actually running a business myself. Like I said, I had partnerships with different people. And, you know, in this industry, big businesses. When Max and I worked together at Big Vision Business, we had a mailing list of some 70-some-odd thousand people. We had a 7-figure business, you know, all that great stuff. But my upper limit was this. I had a story that said people don't really want what I have. Like, I don't really want what I have. And so I partnered with people because if I partnered with somebody, well, then I can be this great auxiliary person, right? A great Robin to Batman, but like not Batman himself, because people don't really want what I have. And that's one of the stories I had to come face to face with in order to step out of working with other people and actually say yes to the calling, which was to do this work as the primary ambassador and the primary voice of this work. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust that other people wanted it. I didn't trust that I had the capacity to do it, because I don't, right? I don't. I have the capacity to show up to it, though, and that's what I didn't realize. I don't have the capacity to do it. I do have the capacity to show up to it. And as I showed up to it, bit by bit by bit, like this company has grown by leaps and bounds over the last year, and is continuing to do so. And interestingly enough, I'm doing more and more and more of what I love as we do it, right? So I want you each to think about what might be your upper limit story. So one of mine was people don't really want what I have, right? And that's the story I use to keep a lid on it. I'll give you well, I'll stop there. So I'd like you to think about this upper limit area in your life or your business. And I want you to just remember the last time you bumped up to that lid, right? And see if you can play back in your mind the tapes that play when you hit it. Oh, yeah, see, people don't really love you. Oh, see, you're a bitch. It's confirmed every time you get here, people are they're all gonna call you a bitch, and they're right, because you are. Oh, you're an arrogant bastard, and they're all gonna see it, right? So gotta keep that out. Oh, you're actually really stupid. And if you go any further, it's going to get beyond your abilities and your life is going to crumble. So what are some of the stories that you use as lids? That's actually what their mechanism is. The story is the lid, right? So I'll hear from some, and we'll see if there's some stories on live streamers. And then we'll explore where these lids come from and how to engage with the lids. So, yes.
I feel like I'm bumping up against a lot of it right now. So as my vision is global connectedness through education. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually currently working for a European organization that's supported through the EU to advance innovation and entrepreneurship in Europe.
Yep.
And my vision is connecting the ecosystems. So, yeah, bumping up against you're careless, you're irresponsible, you're lazy, mm-hmm. you're unreliable.
Yep.
Which, yeah.
And when the lid story plays, uh-huh. how do you feel?
Oh God, it's completely like disarming. Like I just feel like frozen, and my head starts spinning, and I just want to hide. And I'm like, why are you even doing this? Playing this big game? Like, right. What did you get yourself into?
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really good. We'll explore how to work with that in just a minute, but that's a great explanation of what the story is, how it makes you feel, and the ramifications of the freezing and hiding. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I have two ongoing ones. One is around the idea that I don't have enough time to serve more people. Mm-hmm. And the other one is no one's going to want to pay what I want to charge them
Yep.
for my service.
Yep. Great. So I don't have enough time, and no one will pay what I need to charge. Good. So when that lid story plays, how do you feel?
I feel angry and confused
Uh-huh.
because I have a ton of time
Yep.
to do all of those things.
Yep.
And I hear other people's voices telling me that I don't have time or that no one's going to pay for it.
Whose voices are those?
My mother first.
Yeah. We all have a good mother voice.
She's first.
Yep.
And then friends who aren't in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Good. And then what happens when you play the story? Like, how does that impact you?
I play smaller.
What does it look like tangibly?
I don't offer my gifts to more people.
So
and
does that mean,
I give it away
like-
for free?
Oh, I give them away for free.
I give it away.
All right, I give it away.
My time and that service.
Good. All right, we're gonna do a few hot seats tonight. Yeah, we are. Good. We're only gonna keep going for another like 15 minutes. We're gonna do more hot seats tonight. Good. I give it away. Awesome. What you got?
I'm so glad you mentioned this. This is something that's been very present for me this week, but this feeling of, I don't know if it's intimidation, but there's people that I know I'm meant to serve, but there's this fear of, like, I don't know if it's our personalities clashing, but for example, like, let's say there's another person who's coaching and is like in a certain point of personal development where I feel like I know deep down I can serve them, but there's like this more, maybe I'm viewing them as a peer or not wanting to butt heads and just kind of go mano y mano.
Okay. And so when you experience that,
Yeah.
So I've experienced a lot of clients that I work with because I work with a lot of my peers. A lot of my peers are my clients.
Yeah.
Right. And I see this a lot when we go from working with the clients we're normally like, oh, we're a few steps ahead of those people.
Yes.
To working with people that like they could just as easily be, you could be their client as much as they could be yours in a different arena,
Yes.
right? And there's all sorts of fun stories that come up when that happens. So what are some of the stories for you?
Geez, what are some of the stories? Like I'm not good enough.
What would be found out? What they would find out is
I'm still in my journey and my process.
and so what they would see that I'm scared they would see that would expose me is,
Where I'm at with my business. Yeah.
yeah. So where I'm at with my business would be exposed, and if it were exposed, then
They wouldn't value me. They wouldn't see me in the same light.
they wouldn't respect me.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so then I imagine that might create a need to perform.
Yes, it feels very willpower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to look back here, but I'm going to show you that I have this thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And gosh, then I could imagine that it would feel like we're going to butt heads.
Yeah, it's crazy. Some of these things that you said didn't even register to me before, but they really click.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, if I'm coming with all my willpower, damn right we might
It's
butt
intense.
heads.
Yeah.
Right? Because how does this feel energetically?
Like back up.
Back
Yeah,
up.
like I want space.
Back up. Back up your truck. Get out of my face.
Yeah.
And if I keep going further, then,
Then it's uncomfortable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and gosh, I wonder why another colleague, I might butt heads with them.
No clue. Yeah.
I wonder why they might have that reaction. Yeah. Good. Awesome. Let's check in with the live streamers.
We have a couple. So
Awesome.
people are really commenting and coming in. So thank you to everybody. We have Coach Jerry, who said that she's been stuck in a lot of areas: weight, business, singles. Being single. Seems like she's done everything and she's gotten close to a breakthrough in her life, but it's more difficult than she thought. And
Right.
she feels now that the energy that's got me stuck. So she wants to know how to clear that and clear
Yep.
that.
We're getting there. We're getting there, Jerry.
And then Deborah says upper limit self-perfectionism in comparisons to thought leaders, know
Yeah.
better, but can't feel valuable. Habit to become self-conscious and distrust self.
Awesome. Good.
There's a couple more if you'd like.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Love Immersion says, I can run a business well, but I don't know how to generate revenue, and I won't be able to deliver enough value to make it worth my while. Ugh.
Yeah, that's right.
And Pamela says, there's no financial/business success without burnout.
Right. Yeah. Good. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So here's one other piece I want to bring in, and then we're gonna do some hot seats up here. So we talked about doubt, right? And doubt relates to trust. And so there's, first of all, trusting ourselves really, really deeply and innately, right? And usually these are areas where we slip, where we don't trust ourselves quite so much. Like, oh, we're going along, we're good. We trust ourselves here, here, and here. But man, this area, like, oof, it's like there's like a little drop, right? And I can't trust myself to show up fully in that area. And so the question is, well, why is that? Why do I doubt myself there? Why do I have an erosion of trust there? And what causes that erosion of trust? To me, this is where our wounding comes in. And somewhere in our wounding, and I define our core wounds as beliefs we adopt for survival purposes that at a soul level are fundamentally untrue. So they're identity-based beliefs. I am a worthless piece of shit. I am fundamentally broken. I am worthless and unlovable. I am fill in the blank, right? And we all have these beliefs. We adopt them as kids to make sense out of wounding experiences, which are fundamentally confusing. Wounding experiences never make sense. I don't know why this is happening. Ouch, it hurts, and I need to make sense out of it, and I can't blame mom and dad because that's biting the hand that feeds me, so I need to find, oh, this must mean that I am fill in the blank, right? And so we create these beliefs about ourselves to make sense of a sometimes senseless world, to make sense out of, you know, if you come home with a grade A support card and you're like, hey, look, and your parents don't give you the time of day, maybe because they just found out that your dad lost his job and they're wondering how they're going to keep a roof over your head, and so they can't join you in your excitement. You don't know that at the time. All you feel is like, I want to be praised, and nothing's coming back, and I don't know why. Right? Oh, God. This must mean that I'm fill in the blank. Well, later in life, I find that those same beliefs are the places that erode the trust. And if you've ever had soil erosion, right, you know, like you step in that land and there's not plants and foliage and vines and stuff to hold it together, and you just slip and your foot goes and you drop in, right, because there's erosion. And if you have enough erosion, you could have your house just slide off a hill in California. So these beliefs, I find, are the places that we have to come into contact with as it relates to the upper limit, because they're part of the reinforcement for the story, the lid story, right? So part of one of my old wound beliefs is that I'm fundamentally broken, just inherently broken. I always had this vision of all these toys get shipped over from China, and you put the batteries in, and 99 of them work, but you put the batteries in this one, and it's like, right? It doesn't go. That's me. Right? Because as a kid, I tried to show up in my world, but it didn't fit. I just it was super homogeneous, really conservative, and I never was an inside the box person, as you might imagine. And my interpretation is oh, I'm broken. I'm broken, right? And if I'm broken, why would people want what I have? See the relationship between the wound and the lid story? People don't really want what I have, right? Because I'm broken. So I want you to take a moment and think about your lid story. And what's the tape that plays? And see how that might be related to a wound-based belief. Right? Oh, yeah. Oh, I can feel this part of me that says that I'm fill in the blank. My experience is that part of the lid's job is to keep you from exposing this fundamental wound. That if the lid came off and you exploded onto the scene in the bigger way, something might get exposed. And it's not safe. So keep the lid on. And we kick and scream about the lid. Damn it! Why are you there? I hate that lid. I hate it when I run into it. I hate the story connected to it. I don't want the lid. But I think what we need to recognize and look at is, oh, that lid is actually a protective mechanism. That's what it is. So then the next question becomes, well, if it's a protector and not a saboteur, like we think it is, what's it protecting? What part of me doesn't want to be seen or exposed? What part of me can't in my current configuration emerge safely? I want you to think about a wound for a minute and think about literally a wound in your body, like a gash, right? What do you do if you have a little gash in your arm or leg or something? What do? You put a Band-Aid on it. You cover it up. Because to expose it while the wound is still active actually is unsafe. Right? And so, it can get infected, it could get worse, something could poke it and it would hurt. So it's great. You cover it up so that it can safely heal. Right? Well, the same thing is true with our own wounding. When there's parts of our wounding that we haven't embraced, we can't safely expose those parts of ourselves. Right? One of the things I'm working on a lot right now is sharing my sweetness. Because that's a part of me that always felt most threatened. I'm in my core, my little boy inside is I call him Joy Boy. That's his name. Right? And he's wide-eyed and he's curious. And, as a kid, I always felt smacked down around that wide-eyed curiosity. Oh, that's not welcome here. And what I'm noticing now in this next evolution of my business is it's calling for me to share more of that inherent joy, right? But wow, that can feel risky, if I haven't done the work to embrace that part of myself. So part of the work I'm doing right now is to be even more in contact with that aspect of myself so that I can share it safely with the world. So what I want to do in just a little bit here is explore what's the lid and what's the wound, and what's part of the perhaps resolution or embracing or integration around the wound such that the lid might not need to be there. I have one last little story before we start doing some hot seats. Sometimes in the beginning of these talks, like I told you, I tune in and I listen, and I don't know where the hell it's going at first. And sometimes it like, we go right in, and sometimes I feel like I do this a little bit, and then we find our groove. That's what it felt like tonight. But there was this piece around the world religion teacher. I'll finally come back to that, because that was this dangling participle over here. Some of you have heard me share this already, but one of the teachers I follow is this guy, Adyashanti. He's a Zen Buddhist teacher. Really great guy, and has a pretty big reach in the world. And I've done some 5 or 7 day meditation sits with him. The first one, or one of the first ones I did, he had just started teaching about Jesus. And he's a Zen teacher, right? He said his experience was this. In the East, if something's not going right in your life, people can very easily just say, oh, karma, must have done something bad in a past life. Okay. He said, but in the West, we go, oh, this is happening because I'm something, right? And that's that wound. And I'm going to tie it back to that 98% Christian thing, which is, I think in the West, whether we believe in it or not, we have some relationship to original sin, which is that we're born sinners. It's a concept that came in a good few 100 years ago, largely with the Reformation. And whether we have any connection to that religiously, I think the experience of it personally of like, oh, I'm this bad thing, is an experience that many people in the West seem to have. And so Adya said, I just found that Zen couldn't touch that piece. And what was required to touch that piece is redemptive love. Redemptive love. And he said, Jesus is a teacher of redemptive love. So he started getting into the Jesus teachings. Not dogmatically, but to look at the quality of redemptive love. And to me, redemptive love is the ingredient that heals the wound. We can do all sorts of personal development, and I'm a big fan of it, and I've done a lot of it, and it's been a huge part of my life. And I've got to tell you, on some level, the thing that's touched me most and most deeply wasn't a process per se in a personal development thing. It's these moments where I feel this redemptive love flowing into the parts of me that feel most irredeemable. The most broken parts, the most unlovable parts, the parts that I don't want to look at, let alone have anybody else see, right? But to allow redemptive love to flow into those aspects of ourselves, which puts this healing balm on the wound, allowing it to heal properly so that we can integrate these lost parts of ourselves back into who we are and step forward more fully without the need for the lid. So that's the mechanism. Good. So we're going to do some live streams. Before we do that, I'm going to see if there's any questions, and live streamers, we'll see if you guys have any questions as well. We'll maybe check in with you after a hot seat and then check in with you again, something like that. Okay, so before we go into any hot seats, I just want to invite you to just close your eyes for a minute. And I just want to introduce this experience of a redemptive love. That there is a love in this universe that embraces everything, where nothing is off limits to this love. No story you have about yourself, no guilt, no shame, no past deeds. There's nothing you've done or haven't done that is irredeemable to this redemptive love. That this love is available to us all, always. And so I just invite you in this moment to just open up to the idea that there is a redemptive love that can touch the parts of you that have fought so hard. Those protectors that work and that push, that maybe have these lid stories connected to them to keep you safe. That this redemptive love can flow even there. And that whatever those protective parts are protecting, those more deeply wounded aspects of ourselves, that there is a love that can flow even there. And that if you just give yourself permission to receive it and invite it in, you can feel it flow. You can feel this love that doesn't ask questions. It doesn't ask what you've done or haven't done. That doesn't ask if you deserve it or don't deserve it. That does not ask questions, just says, love is here for you. That there's no limit to this love. There's no lid that goes on, oh, you've gotten enough, no more. That it just flows and flows and flows and flows and flows. And I want you to bring to mind whatever that story that you connected with is. And bring to mind maybe what that story is protecting, what wounded part of you is like, oh, it feels so tender. And see if that lid is willing to just lift up a little bit to let this love flow in there. Right into that part of yourself that, oh, that can receive love too? Really? Just breathe that in. Whatever you're able to or willing to let in. And as you keep breathing and allowing this in, feel it filling you up. You're getting more whole, more complete, more full. Stronger and stronger and stronger. Until you realize that in this state, the lid isn't even there. So we're going to keep going this evening, but before you open your eyes, I just want to invite you to invite this love to keep flowing. After you open your eyes, after we continue this evening, after you leave this evening, as you go to sleep this evening, that you wake up even with an experience of this redemptive love just pulsating through your veins, flowing and flowing and flowing and flowing without end. So take a deep, loving through your body breath in through your nose and out on a sigh. Good. It's kind of sweet, huh? So we're going to bring some of you up here. We're going to explore some stuff about upper limits and particularly how it relates to culture. And we're going to invite this redemptive love to keep flowing as we do it and see how that impacts it. We're going to go from there. Before we head into that, I just want to let Nicole know we're going to check in with some Q&A after we do one of the hot seats. Awesome. Good. So, right up here. We've got a mic stand and all. Oh my goodness. Oh, if that were screwed up. There we go. Okay, remind us of your name.
Donna.
Donna, great. So, so you're doing matchmaking?
Yes.
Yes. How long have you been doing it?
Professionally?
Yep.
Since May.
Okay, cool. What were you doing before that?
I'm still doing. I'm also an interior designer.
Okay, good. Ah. So you design homes and design love lives.
I do.
All right.
I call it transformative life design.
Transformative life design. Beautiful. Good. So I want to explore a few things with you.
Sure.
I want to explore tribe a bit, and I want to explore upper limit stuff. And they're interrelated.
Mm-hmm.
So when you feel the lid, right? The lid is on how much time you have available and how much you can charge.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Got it. And what the lid says about all that is what?
I have no time,
I have no time.
and no one will want to pay what I want to charge them.
No one will want to pay what I want to charge them. Yeah. And no one will want to pay what I want to charge them because
It's a value thing.
uh-huh. So see if there's an answer. Because
They won't value the service that I have
uh-huh.
to provide them.
And they won't value it because
They won't think that I know what I'm doing.
uh-huh. And they won't think that I know what I'm doing because I'm
Not as good as somebody else.
not as good as somebody else.
There might be someone better than me.
And what that makes me, if somebody's better than me and I'm not as good as somebody else, what that would make me is,
Useless.
huh? Great, good. This microphone needs to come up.
Okay.
There we go. It keeps falling. Great, so I'm useless.
Mm-hmm.
So why would anybody want to pay the rates I say I want to charge, right? Here, you should pay me this money for the service, but I'm useless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you really don't want to.
Right.
Right. Got it. So what would be exposed is that you're useless.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great reason to not take the lid off. Right?
Sure.
I wouldn't want my useless self to be tossed out into the market.
Right.
Right? Ouch. That would hurt. Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah. So, good. So there's useless. I want to explore time, and then we'll go from here.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have enough time. I just don't have enough time. Because
I'm doing so many other things.
I'm doing so many other things. Oh, this is so good. It's such a good lid. I'm doing so many other things because
Because Why am I actually doing
No.
the other thing? Okay. I'm doing so many other
The lid
things
story.
because I have to do them all in order to make money, in order to be a good mother.
Uh-huh. Got it. So there's a bit of martyrdom thing there.
There is a bit of martyrdom.
Yeah, got it. So I have to do all these things to be a good mom, and so I just don't have any time.
Right.
All right, good. Oh. By the way, I love time lids. Time and money lids are like the two primary lids, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just so convincing. They're such convincing lid stories because you can point to all the things, right? So easily. Right? So good. Okay, so I don't have enough time because I have all this stuff I need to do, and people won't really pay the rates I want to charge anyway, so I give it away. Mm-hmm. And so do you actually work with some people and have them not pay?
I
Have.
offer them matches, yes,
got
without even taking them on as a client.
Right, okay, got it. I have a total funny aside story, and I just have to say it because I love crazy asides. I was at this big gala fundraiser, and like, there's some things that gay guys can get away with that straight guys can't, right? And so there's this gorgeous woman, and I'm in my tux and whatnot, and I just walked up to her and I'm like, "You are stunning, like gorgeous." I just loved her dress, and I talked with her for a bit, and then my business partner at the time came over, and I walked away to go get a drink or something, and he's like, "Dude, she's really into you," and I'm like, "Oh. Oops." Right? And I'm like, "Oh, sorry. No, it was really about your dress." Right? And anyway, she's like, "Well, I'm a matchmaker. I have some great guys for you." And she did just that, right? They said, you aren't a client, I know, but blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's my funny. It has nothing to do with what we're doing. It's just a fun story. So I have some matches, and I just set you up. Good. And how that makes you feel right when you do it is?
It feels great.
Yeah, because it makes me feel like I'm what?
Like I am totally contributing. And
Totally
I'm
contributing. And that means that I'm what? If I'm
valuable.
I'm valuable if I'm a contributor, right? I'm totally valuable. Feels so good. And then the next day or the next week or the next time you open up your bank account, you feel how?
Useless.
Useless. Useless. So no wonder you give it away, because you get a rush of feeling like a contributor, which is the opposite of uselessness, right? So really at the foundation of this whole setup is uselessness, right? So I want to do a little process here a minute, and then I want to just talk briefly about tribe with you, because I think this will be fun. Can we just close your eyes for a minute? And I want you to realize that whether or not you knew it consciously, your useless self wanted to come here tonight. Your useless self had a deep desire for redemptive love. For you to embrace it maybe in a whole new way. I'd like you just to feel that useless self. Feel where it lives in your body. Maybe place your hand there. And just feel it for a moment. Feel the emotions connected with it. Maybe hurt, maybe sorrow, maybe loneliness. Feel how much pain and suffering it's taken on for so many years. And know that as a kid, you couldn't feel all of this. It would have ruined you. So this part of you took the uselessness on and has held it for you for all these years. Maybe contributing to you in the greatest way possible. So I want to invite you just to first tell it you're sorry. And thank it. Thank it for holding this for you for so long. Next, see if you can hold it with love. And even more than just your love, see if you can allow the love from this universe to flow into it, some redemptive love. Love that you don't even have to manufacture. That you don't have to come up with. You can just allow it to flow into this part of yourself. And feel this part of you feeling this redemptive love. Redemptive love has nothing to do with deserving or not deserving. It just flows because it flows. Feel it feeling this redemptive love from this universe and your love. Allowing it maybe for the first time to feel actually honored. Just ask this part of you, when it comes to your business, what would allow this part of yourself to participate? What would make it safe? What does it need from you for it to be safe?
Do you want the answer?
Yeah.
It needs me to feel vulnerable enough to open and share it.
Yeah. And now, the wounded perception is that this part doesn't have any value, you know. But if you actually had it tell you the truth, what would it say it's here to contribute? What's the deeper truth of this part of you?
There is a universe size of value to what I have to contribute.
And this part knows it, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so funny enough, the wound itself is a lid. And when that lid moves with redemptive love, you get a universe-sized experience of value. So I invite you, just keep seeing this throne, this seat for this part of you to take. This rightful place in your life. So I want to just invite you to see this part of you taking its rightful place in your life. Now I want you to imagine having the right clients show up and asking them for business. Is there any hesitation around that?
No.
Is there any hesitation about asking for your rates around it?
No.
Do your rates now seem like a fantastic frickin' deal?
Totally.
Yeah. Good. So take a breath in. We'll just keep this part connected to you. Oh, I see it. Hi.
Hello.
There's the value. Yeah. Just. We have a friend here. You see the value here? I mean, you've seen it before. She couldn't see it quite this way. Yeah. But we see it now. Yeah. It's actually visible. Good. So, one more thing before you go away. So, one of the key concepts in the marketing work I do with people is that our ideal tribe shares our wound pattern with us. That we each have a life PhD, a life's journey around a particular wound pattern. For you, it's largely around value, right? Feeling like I don't have value, the struggle with value, feeling, like that's been a life journey for you, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. So you know the ins and outs of that world, right? So to me, it only makes sense that rather than going like, oh God, I need to like nip that in the bud and get rid of it and move on with my life, we would actually utilize the fact that you spent your life navigating that world, knowing the ins and outs of that world, and therefore have the capacity to serve others navigating that with more keen understanding than pretty much anybody else. Make sense?
Totally.
Got it. So now let me ask you, do your ideal clients struggle with feeling like they're valuable?
Absolutely.
So, first things first, when you give your services away, you're agreeing with them that they don't have value. You're collapsing into their wound.
Yeah.
Because you're not saying, I'm giving you the opportunity to invest in yourself, right? You're not worthy of investing in, therefore I need to give my services away to you. Right. So you're actually colluding with it and falling into your own wound and joining them in theirs. No wonder why it would feel like any amount would be too much, right?
Yeah.
But if you realize, oh, my life has trained me on the ins and outs of the dance we can sometimes struggle with around value and around feeling valuable. And as it relates to dating and relationship, here's where value often shows up and your lack of experiencing value. You know, so if they're women, right, what are all the ways they discount themselves? Are they largely women, or are they men as well, or largely men?
The current vision is for women and gay men.
Got it. Very similar in some ways. So yes. So so what might happen for a gay guy or a woman who struggles with his experience or her experience of value when it comes to dating?
What might happen?
Yeah.
Well, they feel worthless.
Yeah, and if you feel worthless, then how is that going to impact your dating journey? Like, what might you do?
You may not actually present yourself as yourself.
Right.
You
Here's something that I imagine
another
would happen.
persona.
Here's something that I imagine would happen. You would go on dates with people you don't frickin' want to go on dates with.
Right.
A lot. Because you're not worth it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you go, dating sucks, and it's hard, and there's so many awful people out there, and I just want to throw in the towel because I'm sick of dating losers. Right? And it's all those people's fault, those losers out there. If they weren't out there, I could date awesome people and it would be great, right? Maybe you can help me. That's how they're coming to you. Make sense?
Yes.
And so they want help dating because they can't honor themselves well enough to date people that are worthy of them because they don't feel valuable. They don't have the value to present
Right.
and command those people into their lives. So one of the things that I do with my clients is help them see what the transactional journey is, the nuts and bolts journey, and the transformational journey, right? And that they need to be woven together. So if I were working with you, part of the messaging I would say, what's the name of your business?
Delta Swell.
Delta Swell.
Delta Swell.
Delta Swell. That's kind of swell, right? Like, you know, at Delta Swell, we specialize in working with women and some gay men, you know, who have a habit of dating people they don't actually like, right? Where, and if this is you, you've probably gone on date after date after date with guys that you're not actually all that interested in, but you keep doing it because you don't want to throw in the towel and just say, the hell with it, they all suck. And you still deeply want love, but you never feel like the people that you actually want are available. And so you always feel like you're getting the seconds,
Right.
and you're sick of it, right? If that's you, part of what I do is matchmaking and helping you actually find people that can meet you and meet you deeply. But the other part of what I specialize in is helping you feel more valuable than you've ever felt in your entire life. So that when you show up on these dates with these amazing matches that I'm going to connect you with, you feel so radiant and like you have so much to give that the person you're in front of, if they're the right match, will be absolutely enthralled with you. If you want that kind of service, we should talk. That's the communication I want to see you have.
Beautiful.
It's knowing that the fundamental pattern for your whole tribe is around value, 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 value. And not metaphorically, not generically, but when that pattern shows up in dating, it becomes specific and acute. I date these kind of losers and I'm sick of it. I go on these kind of dates. I end up with guys that don't treat me well and I don't know why and I'm sick of that. It becomes very specific. And you can speak to the symptoms of not having value.
Totally.
Okay? Awesome. Good. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Good. Let me check in with live streamers. Any comments, questions? What's going on in live stream land?
Live stream land, we have definitely a ton of people watching, but I think they're so enthralled that they haven't been commenting. But we did ask and let them know that it's Q&A right now. So if any live streamers would like to, definitely jump on here and we'll get you next time.
Good. So we can do another hot seat, maybe two, and we'll check back in with the live streamers. Good. Come on up here. Come on up here. You're, thank you. Okay. Thank you. I know, it's a little bit of a, beautiful. So remind us of your name, please.
Okay, it's Sion.
Sion, that's such a beautiful name.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Sion, tell me again what you do and who you do it for.
Okay, so I currently, I guess it's more of a consultant role. I'm with an organization that was created to advance innovation and entrepreneurship in Europe. And my role is in bridging the US and European ecosystems through education.
Awesome. Got it. Beautiful. Good. So now remind me of the lid. So the lid, when you, so actually tell me what the upper limit is about. You can only
what
have
it's
so
about.
much what?
I guess there's a financial upper lid, and I can only make so much. And then there's also a, gosh, I guess it's how much of the world I can impact, or,
That's it.
yeah.
That's it. That's it. The finances are just a relationship to that. As that grow, the finances grow. So before I go into any of this, you're a genius. I can just see it in you. You see the world in a very macro way, yes? And you see connectivity globally that most people don't really see quite the same way you do, right? So you know you have a big piece to contribute because you know you have a perspective and a vision for this world that isn't necessarily common, yes? Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, with that genius comes the calling to use it, right? So no wonder you're feeling a call to really have an impact on this world. And no wonder you're connected to an organization where you have the capacity to do some of that, right? None of that's by accident.
Right.
Now, our wounding is part of the training program for our life's greatest contribution, right? And oftentimes with big callings, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes comes big wounding. Because we have to go through a lot, and in going through a lot, we build a lot of muscle and skill, and that can be used in service to the work, right? There's one other thing I want to bring in for you in particular, and then I want to do some exploration with you, which is some people have wounds that are really tapped in and tied into a big collective global human wound pattern. And you would do that so you could reach and touch a lot of people. Like, I don't know what Oprah's wounding is, but like, she somehow has a capacity to reach and touch a lot of people. So there's connectivity she has to a lot of humanity through her own wounding. Make sense? And the evolution of the wound. So part of my goal in my work is to help people serve from the gift of the wound, not the pain of the wound. Right? And as we move from being a victim of the pain of the wound to serving from the gift of the wound, we become the living ambassador of our brand's promise. So your company or your organization has a promise, and you as a human, you have your own kind of brand's promise. If there's a personal brand, you have a brand promise connected to it. What do you think that is?
Seriously, my passion is that every single person lives their purpose and it really thrives in being who they authentically are. And yeah.
Good. So that's massive. And I do believe that the future of work is designed to help people do just that. So each person thrives and lives their purpose. Good. So tell me a little bit about your wounding experiences, or what you think your wound might be.
Well, I think what came up earlier was the conversation that I'm careless, unreliable, lazy. That's one of them. And another one, so I think that came more from my dad's stepmom years. And the other one from my mom is like, you're not enough.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I'm a lazy, careless, not enough, good for nothing, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And so you would tell yourself at different times, in your like darkest moments, quiet moments, you'd say, oh, I just feel like I'm, what, fill in the blank.
Failing.
I'm a failure. I'm a failure. So wouldn't it make sense that if you were here to revolutionize education, that your wound would be around being a failure? Wouldn't that make sense? Right? Like if you're here to be a matchmaker, it doesn't make sense that you have a wound around not having value, right? If you're here to revolutionize education and entrepreneurship, I don't know of any place you experience more failure than entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like failure after failure after failure on your way to success. And what happens in school? You get what? Graded. Right? You're always being evaluated and always saying, am I good enough or am I a failure? Right? And what happens if you feel like a failure? You want to do what?
I just usually, well, in the past, I guess up till now, just push myself and ignore my feelings and just push. Yeah.
But what I'm going to say is I think what you'd want to do is to give up.
Yeah, and hide.
Right.
Yeah.
And then guess what happens? You start playing the tapes of I'm lazy, I'm no good, I can't be counted, all the lid tapes, right? So I'm going to suggest that that lid is protecting your failure self, the part that feels like a failure, right? And I think that that is a huge global wound of people just feeling like fundamentally like failures, right? Dave Logan wrote this book, Tribal Leadership. Have you ever heard of that book?
That's so interesting because I literally looked at that book today. There was a challenge to look at a page in a book to embody something, and that was one of the first books I looked at.
So Kyle looked at this very book today. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Dave talks about these 5 stages that tribes go through. And tribes being a culture in an organization, a group of people in a company, etc., right? First one is life sucks. All life sucks. So he talks about like gangs have a life sucks mentality. People in gangs in prison might have a life sucks mentality. And you just like, you don't care, right? Because life sucks. The next one is, my life sucks. Your life might be great, but my life sucks. So this is where you see a lot of people in manual labor, perhaps. I used to work at a factory when I was in college one summer. And you see a lot of union workers, like, my life sucks. There's other people who have great lives, mine doesn't. And it just won't get any better. And so I'm stuck in victimization. The third one is, I'm great, with a subtext of, and you're not. And this is where most cultures of work are. It's a dog eat dog, I'm gonna get mine, I will be the superstar and you all suck. So I'm great and you're not, right? The fourth one is, we're great. And this is fairly high functioning cultures, like say at Google or at Apple. They most likely have a we're great mentality with a subtext of, and you're not. So they all have a common enemy. So Google's enemy might be Apple, and Apple's enemy might be Google, and so forth, right? Like, there's always that one, and we're going to beat them. And so we're great. And then there is life's great. And that's where the common enemy isn't anybody else, but the common enemy is mediocrity. Right? And I bring this up because I feel like where we're moving right now, when you talk about people having purpose, it's really moving up that chain where they feel great about themselves and they feel like they work in a great culture and then they have a great life and live in a great world, right? And a lot of what you're doing is shifts in entrepreneurship and education to move people up that ladder. Yes? Yeah. So your failure wound teaches you a lot about where they slip trying to walk up that ladder. Right? Where they go like, I want to be great, but I'm not. Make sense? So I bring this up because I see a relationship between your wound and your gifts in this world, and really having a personal connection and empathy to the large-scale impact you're here to have. So all wounds have an evolution. This moves into that. This moves into that, right? So, and some of it can be really, we have an emphasis on this from the horn outside. I love it when the landscape comments. If I'm a failure, do I have any right to live my purpose?
No.
No.
Right.
And if I tried to live my purpose as a failure, guess what would happen to my purpose?
Well, I feel like then I would get punished or something.
Yeah, I'd fail at my purpose, and then maybe I'll get punished. So, tell me about one of the strategic initiatives you're working on right now. Then I'm going to do a little process.
Okay.
I'm exploring stuff with you.
So, one of the major projects I'm working on right now is creating an internship exchange program for students on both continents to be able to get valuable career experience. So U.S. students in Europe getting to do internships in the tech space.
Yep.
So
that what happens for them?
So they just expand their experience of the world and their contribution to the world.
What might happen is
they thrive even more and make their impact, and also have compassion and value, just the globe as opposed to us versus them.
All right. So there's a phrase that's coming to my mind right now that I think is actually part of your brand, your personal brand, which is true success.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? So the failure wound strives for a success as a failure. I'll tell you, some of you have heard the story. I had lunch with a mentor, Marsha Weeder, years ago now. And she asked me, like, Jeffrey, what belief are you using for that thing that I said I wanted to do, whatever it was? I said, I'm enough. And she just looked at me and she was like, enough and not enough isn't even in the conversation. Right? She's like, you're brilliant. And what I got in that moment was, so long as I was in the I'm enough conversation, I was actually in the I'm not enough conversation. And so too, a lot of the success conversation we're in is actually a failure conversation. It's an avoidance of failure versus true success. And true success isn't just winning the game. It's actually being happy, it's contributing, it's being connected to your purpose, it's being fully alive, right? That's true success. So a lot of what I see you doing is redefining success in this world and giving people an opportunity to experience true success.
Yes.
Yes.
That's, yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. That's your work.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome.
And you wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't know what it's like to be a failure. Because the antidote from the wound of being a failure is to push for success. When I have type A drivers that come into my world and into my business, and you know, and I'm like, great, so we're going to talk about your wounds, right? Because that's where I start in the business consulting I do. And I get to this failure wound with them. They're like, no, I can't possibly be a failure. What are you talking about? Look at everything I've done. And I say to them, yes. What would drive you to do all of that, right? Of course you have a failure wound. You wouldn't be so freaking driven to do all of that if you didn't, right? So that's part of the old school paradigm of I'm going to get mine even if you don't get yours. And that's not true success, right? So part of what you're ushering into this world is a new definition of success. And you know, with these exchange programs, maybe even there's a leadership component that you build around helping people define success for themselves. Knowing that you're going to have to touch their sense of failure. And that if you actually help them touch their failure, they have a much higher likelihood of being successful. In all indigenous cultures, young boys would all go through a rite of passage. And still in indigenous cultures, that's still often the case. And part of, Parker Palmer did a lot of research into this, and part of what he saw was that traditional cultures knew that men couldn't be trusted with power until they felt powerless. And so the role of a rite of passage for men collectively, for young boys collectively, is to actually have them touch powerlessness so that it could be honorable in use of power. So I want to bridge this to success and failure. Because how can you know true success if you haven't actually touched the failure? What so many of them are doing is actually trying to avoid touching the failure by working harder in succeeding. But that actually contributes to the demise of our world and our planet. Because it's about them feeding their wound, not actually being a contributor in the world. Even if it looks on the surface like being a contributor. What they're actually doing is avoiding the pain of their own wound.
Aren't we seeing a lot of that these days?
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So what I want to invite you to do is to consider with these exchange programs, how can I have them touch failure and learn to embrace failure and not push it away? And gosh, how much more innovative might they be in business, and how much more useful might they be to society? Yeah. So I'm going to do a quick little process with you, and then we'll complete. So I just want you to close your eyes for a minute. And just feel underneath the voice that says, I'm not doing enough, or I'm lazy, or not, on that lid that we talked about when we began. Just know that that lid is actually protecting this young, tender part that for so long has felt like a failure. And that it just hurt to feel like a failure. And so this part of you took that belief on in service of you so that you didn't have to feel it all the time. It did an amazing gift of taking this belief on for you so that you could survive. But it's also a part of you that maybe hasn't been as welcomed into the fold, as loved up. And so I just want you to feel this part that holds this belief, or has held it historically, I'm a failure. Just hold it, just show up to it. If you feel this part in your body someplace, maybe place your hand where it lives. And just breathe into it. Saying to it, in essence, I'm here. Showing up, I've got you. Notice yourself breathing into that part of yourself. And notice this part of you feeling held. I invite you to thank it for its service all these years of giving you a training around what true success actually is. Without this part, you wouldn't know everything you know about what success actually is. And know that this aspect of you that maybe you've even avoided for some time has a great gift for you and for humanity. And I just want to invite you to hold this part in love, share your love with it, and even allow a greater love, a redemptive love, to flow in and touch this part that's maybe felt so alone for so long. And just feel this part, feeling this redemptive love flow in. You didn't have to work for any of it. Doesn't have to prove anything to receive this love. And almost like a reptile shedding scales, I invite you to see some of these old belief structures just falling away as this redemptive love flows in. Redemptive love far beyond even your own understanding. You don't need to understand it to experience it. And as it falls away, notice a deeper truth coming into view. Some essential gift this part of you has for you and for this world. Just invite this part of you to show you what it is. If you're willing, just share what you see or hear. Keep your eyes closed for a minute.
Just radiance.
I invite you to allow this radiance to emerge from and through this part of you into the rest of you. Allowing this radiance to touch every nook and cranny of your being, from your toes to the top of your head. Allow your hands to drop if you'd like. And allow this radiance to continue beyond your skin. So this part is sharing this radiance not just with you, but allowing this radiance to flow out into this world. And if you imagine yourself walking through the world with this radiance, I want you to see, is it possible for you to really say yes to this larger calling, this global impact? No need for a lid. No lid stories of being lazy or incompetent or anything else. This radiance knows how to reach out, knows what it's reaching out to. This radiance can do the work, and you can partner with it.
Yeah, I mean, I see that it's already connected to the vision. It's already, yeah.
And if, we'll close in just a moment, and I just want you to ask it if it has any message for you or any message for us.
It just says, let go. Just let go.
Yeah. Is that the message to you?
I think it's, to me.
And if it has a message for us, what does it want to share with us, with the world? What's its message for the world?
That it's already there.
What's already there?
Your own radiance and the flow that your radiance puts you in, if you allow it.
Beautiful, beautiful. And just want to invite you to see this radiance, sparking the radiance in all these people around the world that you're here to touch and support. And their radiance sparking more radiance. And that radiance flowing through governments and corporations and schools of education. That radiance touching the failure wound and leading them into true success. Take a deep, loving through your body breath in through your nose and out on a sigh. Allow your eyes to drift open. Wow. There's some radiance.
Yeah.
Just do a little spark of radiance here. Yeah. That's what's at the foundation of this work.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you feel that lid, you have two options. One is you can collapse, which is, oh, it's right. Or you can use it as an invitation to remember your radiance. Oh, that lid was there as a protector for failure, but my failure has actually been housing my radiance. So whatever's in the way is the way, right? Every time you find the lid, it's an invitation to claim something deeper. Okay?
Okay.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Good, 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 good. So, ooh, all right, good. So let me just do a little recap here, and I'll share just a couple announcements, and then we'll close. So I hope you saw that with this beautiful, shining, radiant example, that the radiance does the work. The radiance has the global impact. And if you partner with it, then you don't actually have to move into the doubt, where you don't trust yourself and fall into the wound. And even if you bump into that, you can use it as an invitation to a deeper truth. That's the gift of the limit. The limit is always an invitation to a deeper truth. And as we activate the deeper truth, the limit, the lid, can just fall away because it's done its job. See, when we're still in the wound, it's not safe to share that. Hi, world, I don't have any value. Hi, world, I'm a failure, right? Ouch. No wonder we have lids. They're for a reason, to keep us safe. But we can also use the lid as an invitation to a deeper truth. And when we step into that deeper truth and allow it to emerge into the world, then the lid isn't necessary anymore. It has served its holy role of inviting you into something greater. And when you touch that something greater, that is the something that can actually reach out beyond your previous limits. Your value can reach out beyond your previous limits. This radiance can reach out beyond your old limits, right? My joy can reach out beyond the limits of my personality. That's the gift of it. So it's always, always, always an invitation. Okay. Well, this was an interesting evening. I never know what's going to happen these nights. So I just want to share a few things. As I mentioned at the beginning of tonight, these always happen the third Thursdays of each month. So the third Thursday of each month. However, and I'm pulling this out to find my calendar for January. 18. January 18th, thanks. In November, November 16, 17, and 18, there is a live event here in LA, in Marina Del Rey, called Called to Lead. And it is a deep dive into your leadership. It's really about taking these lids off and understanding what your true global leadership is actually meant to be about. One of the things that I've really been exploring is how do we lead a tribe versus marketing to get clients. Lead a tribe and allow clients to come in through the tribe versus I'm trying to get clients. And there's actually some very distinct differences in how we conceptualize what marketing is and how we actually market to lead a tribe and grow your business at a much larger scale. So part of what we're going to be doing is some nuts and bolts around really understanding what the ultimate promise of your brand actually is, how to use that ultimate brand promise in your marketing and messaging so you connect with and lead a larger tribe, and ultimately how to become the living embodiment of your brand's promise so that as you speak these words to lead your tribe, they see the truth of it in who you are. So if you'd like more information about that, I can talk with the people here tonight. Online, you can go to calledtoleadlive.com, calledtoleadlive.com, and find out information there. If you have any questions about it, either here or online, you can always just send us an email, support@jeffreyvandyke.com. We have an amazing group of people already registered. We do have some space left. So if you are called to be there, I would love to see you there. One of the things that we're doing the first night is a concert. So I have a few songs I did for my birthday in July, but we'll be doing the whole EP on the first night. So live streamers, that is November 16, 17, 18. And normally the third Thursday is November 16. So we will not be doing a monthly live stream in November. Instead, in just a little bit as it gets closer, you'll see a very special, cool way you can participate in that weekend. So keep your eyes out for that, and we'll be sharing more information about that. Yeah, oh, so good. Can I just tell you, it's been so fun to put this event on because when I tried in May and I got the message like, yeah, Jeffrey, the reason it wasn't working is because you were trying to do it. And it's not your job, it's the team's job. Your job is to show up and do the work. And like, the people we have connected to this event, just the support team supporting the event is so amazing. I just feel so held in this work and know that we as a group are going to be really deeply held in that room to do some very deep, very profound work very quickly over those 3 days. So, so that's going to be really good. So go to calledtoleadlive.com and we can see you there. I also love to just get your feedback on these evenings. So we have a little survey we hand out. On the front side is just some information if you can share about how this landed for you, what you'd like to see different, if anything, et cetera. We always love to see your feedback there. On the back, if you want to talk with somebody on our team about what we do, especially in the world of business development and marketing, you can fill that out and we'll be in touch with you and set up a time to talk about your business and where you're at and if we can help, and if so, how we might be able to help. So online, you go, oh, I always forget these URLs, guys. You go to, what is it? Tribalmarketing.biz/feedback is the place to give feedback. And tribalmarketing.biz/welcome is a place to learn more about the marketing work we do and to sign up for a way to talk with us. As always, if you have another issue or concern or want to reach out for any reason, you can just go to support@jeffreyvandyke.com and send us an email there. So with that, I just want to thank you all for being here. It's always such a gift to being on this leading edge conversation. I learn right along with everybody else. So it's always a gift to have you in the room because I don't do this in a vacuum. And I swear to God, when I'm up here on my own and there's nobody else here, nothing comes. It's only in relationship that stuff starts to flow. So it's really, really a blessing to have you all here. And if there's anything I want for you, it's to remember that this redemptive love that we spoke about tonight is always available. It doesn't ask you to work to earn it. It doesn't ask you to do anything to receive it. It won't hold out on you because you didn't do something. It's always available. It's always there. And it is the thing that, in my experience, touches most deeply the parts of us that feel most disconnected from who we are. The parts that have held these core beliefs about who at a soul level we really aren't, right? But we needed to take them on for our training program and our survival. But at some point, those parts of us need to come along for the ride. And in my experience, it's this redemptive love that says, you can come along too, just as you are. And you have a gift I never even knew about. Thank you. So with that, thank you all so much. And many blessings. I hope to see you November 16, 17, 18 at Called to Lead. Have a good night, everybody. Mwah. All right.